Hello, friends, educators, teachers, and students. Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm gonna be talking about micro teaching. So, as a teacher, you need to take feedback from colleagues, from teachers, from students that how you teach and how you can make it more effective. Before watching this video, I would recommend that you should watch the video on my channel which I posted a few months ago. It was titled Connected Speech by Rizwan Ahmed Memon, or you can also type Mastering Connected Speech by Rizwan Ahmed Memon. You can see the thumbnail on the screen. So if you watch this video before watching this one, you will understand this video much better. So in this video, an American teacher, Sarah Osborne, gave me feedback on my teaching along with other colleagues. So this recording that you see on the screen is watched by Sarah Osborne and my other colleagues. So I'm teaching here connected speech, and then these colleagues and Sarah Osborne would give me feedback on how I can make my teaching better. So let's see.
What an interesting topic. I don't know if I've ever broken that down with my own students. I like how it gives them something that I find to be very motivating, right? Especially if they're watching native or English speaking shows and songs and things like that. To have an understanding of why those things happen is really one of those things that I imagine students enjoy doing, so that they can feel like they're making bigger gains or understanding more when they're using or consuming English language. How fun! I love it. Okay, let's start with things that went really well. Strengths of the video. I, of course, think that the topic alone is fascinating. What a fun thing and a brave thing to do with students. It does take a level of expertise and confidence with phonetics and phonemes and all of these pieces to be able to do it and talk about it. But I like that it boiled down to 3 things. And I feel like that made it more manageable than anything else, right? And I think especially in the first one, I liked how students really got to see the example and then how that formed into the rule. And I found that exciting to have that level of analysis where they could see, okay, what is happening here? How could we define this? Okay, it's consonant vowel, right? And we could see what that looks like. In the same way we saw that with Nadine's work, where you kind of you decide what you're really looking at and how that works. You get the example first and then the rule. And I thought that was really nice. What other things would you celebrate here? Yeah, Nadine.
Dealing with that topic is not everybody's job.
For sure.
Which has made him a distinguished personality.
Yes, absolutely. I think that many people couldn't do this lesson. And so it's important that because you have the expertise, that you can use that and apply that with your students, because they aren't going to get this in other places, either because it doesn't fall into the curriculum or because someone doesn't have the background experience or because they just don't have the space for it. So it was exciting, and that's what I think also motivating for your students to be able to do this. What else?
Ma'am,
Yeah.
it was very difficult topic to teach, but
Yes.
Mr. Rizwan explained it very clearly and
Yes.
in a very easy way. And the second thing, at the end, he suggested a link for students.
That was cool.
It was very good, and I think ublish.com, sir. So it is very good for students to increase their knowledge about such type of
Yeah.
topics, linking
Yeah.
and the connected speech.
I love that. The resource is helpful, right? Because I do think that this is challenging. And I think that it is a stretch or a push for students to kind of do this and figure it out. It takes a lot of risk taking on their part. So I assume when you have real students that you've built a solid community where they can try this out. Because not every space is one where students feel like they could do something new and hard. Yeah.
And I'm just telling you one of the experience. Many times those students who find it very difficult, they
Yeah.
even ask me, is this in our curriculum? Is this the
Yeah.
part of the SLO? And I remember that, once a parent also came
Yeah.
just to discuss this with me. And then I told the importance of this thing. I
Sure.
said that your child is going to be, very good at listening skills, and
Yeah.
his communication skills would be more, they would be better, and he would be understood easily. So
Yeah.
see, I made him understood that don't think about the Pakistani context. Somehow in the future, your
Yeah.
child is going to interact with the native speakers.
Yeah.
Maybe he's or she's going to live in the native environment in the English speaking world.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I put as I was taking notes too is you did a nice job of including kind of the justification in a way that doesn't feel like you're telling students like you have to learn this and here's why, right? But you connected to, do you watch English movies?
Yeah.
Do you listen to English music? And from my experience here at UNO, working with multilingual students, is one of the hardest things is understanding and communicating effectively with native speakers. There's such a fear of miscommunication, and listening comprehension alone is so complicated. So to add these kind of like helpful hints in what real language use looks like is really exciting. I think it's very cool. And I know that many of my students don't have exposure to that when they come here and they panic or they get so stressed, right? And that affective filter goes up and everybody's scared. But having exposure to something challenging, hard, and authentic like this can be really good for what students feel that they can do on their own. So I think it's very useful as a linguistic skill.
Anyone who knows these topics, they will have an advantage over others. They would understand better movies, songs, and they would feel more comfortable speaking to native speakers. So
Absolutely.
and for example, another advantage that recently I feel that this knowledge gives me is I'm preparing for TOEFL, and when I listen to the recordings in that, I understand them better.
For sure, because you've trained your ear to do that. And I think that is something that's really good for people.
It took me a lot of time and effort, to understand these topics, and nobody taught me.
Right, so you're doing it yourself, you're building this out, and then you're sharing it with other language learners. I think that's great. Nadeem, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, we are also your multilingual students.
Yeah, right?
Multilingual students.
Yeah.
What is your opinion about us as far as the understanding and communication is concerned?
Sure, I feel like we're having a very professional conversation. You get it? In terms of all of the groups that I've worked with, I feel like everyone that comes here is ready, right? You've been through a process, you've been selected. There are some folks who need a little more time, right? Or need a little more. And when you come to my sessions, I hope you'll see that these same kinds of like visuals and things are something I'm very cognizant of, because not everybody has the same level of English within the different areas, right? So in this intimate space, we are connecting, speaking, listening, having instantaneous communication. So obviously all of your proficiency is very high, but in a bigger setting, we're gonna have people who might not be as willing to speak because they don't do it as much, or who understand everything that's going on but don't want to answer. And we may have folks who did not understand the instructions, but once they have them reiterated or talk to a neighbor, can participate in the task. And so multilingual learners have a variety.
On which thing we need to focus on?
Yeah.
What is your opinion?
We need to focus on with your, as participants, let's save that, because he's recording this for him.
Yeah.
And then we can have more conversations about
Okay.
that.
I want to hear, areas of
It was
improvement.
a good topic, and I also was learning a lot from this
That's
lesson.
so interesting, right? Even as very proficient language users, you can say like, oh yeah,
Yes,
I
he
see
is a
that.
blessing for his students.
Yeah, I know, like even for me as a native speaker, the y and w in the vowel to vowel is such an interesting thing to think about. And I was like repeating things, right? Oh yeah, I do that. Or What else can I think of that I do that with? Or what are other examples? So I thought it was very
And thanks to my American teachers who taught me, some teachers
Yeah.
online,
Yeah.
from last decade I have been in contact with them.
Nice.
There is one Jennifer ESL, she's on YouTube.
Sure.
And Rachel is also very famous for her pronunciation
Sure.
YouTube channel. So I have been exchanging emails with them and all this.
Well, I think one of the best things about the work that we all do is the community we build.
Yeah.
Right? And the connections you make, and the people in your own school, and now the people in this cohort, and the people in previous cohorts. Teachers are connectors.
Yeah.
And I think it's fun to see. Okay, let's talk about suggestions we might have. I can go first.
Yes.
I think one of the things I would like was just a little bit more scaffolding as you send your students off to do this on their own. Because I do find it a little intimidating, and I think that they would too, because there are 3 different rules and like jumping into a text. I like that you went from here are sentences and the rules. Here's a sample, let me read to you. And I loved the visual. I think that's so important when you had it pop up and we could see the things that you're connecting. I wanted, instead of you sending them out to grab any text, to look at this specific text.
Yeah.
I would have distributed the one that came on the screen. So
Okay.
if I were in a real class, I would have printed
Okay.
those and handed
So
to
here's what
everyone.
I'd say.
Yeah.
You should, in that sample text, do just the part you did with us in terms of the linking and mark them for them. Leave the rest blank.
Okay.
And then they could use the same context and explore seeing what I've already done and how linking has worked here. What do you guess would happen next? And then instead of having students share texts and give feedback, you could say, okay, I want you to work with a partner, right? And I want you to together talk through, say these out loud, mark them. Then we're going to go sentence by sentence and have each of the pairs read us their ideas and tell us what we're going to do. So that it's very much like tiny chunk.
Yeah.
Because I think that if you send them into something else, the choice alone is intimidating, because how do you choose what is it going to be? Am I going to figure this out? And so if you give them what's next, then the homework is choose any text you want, right? Figure out what this looks like. Choose something short. Or if even that's too much, here's 3 options for you. Take one of these, because I think what's going to get you is to give feedback on so many different things that you've never seen before and you've never heard before. That's a lot of pressure. Like, I don't want to do that, right? Like, so for both of you, it's a good balance to have them do 1 or 2 sentences at a time, talk through it, build to that independent practice, right? You can tell everybody, save the last sentence of this text. I want you to do that one on your own, and before you leave today, we're going to talk about it. Here's a worksheet of your homework. Pick one of these, right? And then the next day, you could say, okay, let's get into groups. Who did text 1? Who did text 2? Who did text 3? Compare your answers first before I give you feedback on what you did. Because you're taking on a lot of work if you're letting them do whatever they want, which is cool. It's very cool for them to be able to pick things, like pick the song, pick whatever. But I don't want to give that much feedback. So keep it simple for you, for your load. Otherwise, you're going to be spending hours looking at all their ideas and trying, oh my gosh, I can't imagine. You'd be like recording things just to give them all feedback.
Yeah, you are right.
Right? So
I can guess, how much work I'll have to do.
Oh, so much work. Like, I'm like sweating already just thinking, oh my gosh, that's like, how many students do you have?
In my classes, usually I have 30 to 35 and sometimes 40.
No, 40 people? Could you imagine 40 texts, 40 songs? Even if they only picked a few sentences, that's your weekend. That's gone. Like, your whole life is over while you're giving them feedback. So save yourself some energy. Give them 3 cool choices. Pick a song, pick a transcript from a movie scene, and something else, right? Or something from a popular book. And then you've got 3 different ways to still engage them with realia, but they don't have to go find it, and you don't have to learn it. So that's my top suggestion. What other suggestions would you have, Nadine?
My suggestion is the same, that as the topic is the difficult one.
Yeah.
So we need not to incorporate the whole text.
Yeah.
It will have the sense of the difficulty for the students.
Yeah.
When the matter of the practice is there, we need to incorporate small words and small sentences and practice with them.
Chunks.
In chunks.
Yeah. Because you do that in your own example. You start with 2 or 3 words. So then maybe we need to take that pause and say, here are 2 or 3 words for you. Here's a couple of things. Figure out where the links are and tell me why, right? What's the rule that goes with it? So we've got these micro moments, and even in a big class, then you can use that as formative assessment to say, like, are we ready? So, okay, we've done it here. Here's a sentence. Let's do this. Okay, I'm going to give you an example of multiple sentences and what that looks like and sounds like. Finish this paragraph off, then go do it by yourself. And I think then you'll have a better arc and you won't lose people as much if they can break down those chunks of what that looks like. Nice. Anything else?
That's good.
No, it's so fun. I love it. I'm not doing it with my students, but I think it's very cool and someone else should. I teach writing, so it's